My name is Michael Maunsell, lecturer in Environmental and Geographical Science. Today we're going to look at Gantt charts in Microsoft 2016. Gantt charts are a great way for undergraduate students to manage projects. To get started, open an Excel spreadsheet. Because projects are divided into a series of tasks, each one having its own start date, a certain amount of time allocated to it, and an end date, we can use these as headings at the top of the Excel spreadsheet. So for example, at the top of column A, I'm going to write in tasks. And we can list all our tasks in column A. In column B, I'm going to write start date. We can list all our start dates in column B. And for the amount of time allocated to each task, I'm simply going to write duration. And then the end date for each task. I'm going to leave row 2 blank, just so that it's a bit clearer for the purpose of this exercise. On row 3, I'm going to write in the very first task in our project. And for undergraduate students, that's often a literature review. As you might notice, the title literature review has spilled over from column A right into column B. I want to keep all of the task headings in column A. So to rectify this, simply move the cursor to the top of the Excel spreadsheet on that line right between column A and column B and double click. This will expand column A and allow it to accommodate the entire title of the first task. I can now write in the start date for that first task, and that's going to be the 15th of January. I just need the first 3 letters of the month. I'm going to give it 42 days for this task, and now we must enter the end date for the task. We could use a calendar to figure it out, or do it in your head, but Excel will do it much quicker for you if you enter a particular formula, and that is an equals sign followed by sum, followed by an open bracket. At this stage, all you've got to do is click on the cell containing the start date, the 15th of January. You can see B3 has been entered into the cell. And this is the address of the cell containing the start date because it's in column B, row 3. Now put in a plus sign and click on the amount of days allocated, 42. And again you can see the address of the cell 42, which is column C, row 3, has been entered. And now close the bracket and press return. The correct entry date, or the first correct end date, has been entered in the cell. Our next task is to write a proposal for our project. So we'll type in proposal, we'll give it a start date of the 1st of March, and we'll allow it 2 weeks to be written. Again, we must enter an end date, but this time we don't have to enter a formula. All we've got to do is click on the cell above, go to the bottom right hand corner and drag down, and the correct end date is entered for us. You can see the formula we used is held in the formula bar up there. So our third task is now our pilot study, our pilot survey. The start date will be the 20th of March, and we'll allow 10 days for our pilot survey. Again, to calculate the end date, click on the cell above, move the cursor to the bottom right hand corner and drag it down. Our next task in our project will be our field research. The start date for that will be the 5th of April. We'll allow 21 days for field research, and again, to calculate the end date, click on the cell above it, move the cursor to the bottom right hand corner and drag it down. Our next task is data analysis, which we will start on the 1st of May. Again, we'll allow 21 days, but this time, because we've already used the formula 4 times, Excel will now do it for us. So once we click on the cell, the date is automatically entered, and this will continue to happen. So for our final task in the project, which will be results, write up our results, and our discussion. As you can see, this title has also spilled over from column A to column B. And again, to rectify it, it's the same process. Move the cursor to the top of the column between row A and row B, between column A and column B. Click on the black line, double click, and column A expands to accommodate the entire title. We can give this a start date of 25th of May. Again, allowing 21 days, and once we click on the end date cell, Excel will enter it for us, and it's done. Now that we have all the data on the Excel spreadsheet, we can go ahead and begin to create our Gantt chart. Click on a cell that's well away from your data so that it doesn't cover it when the chart is being created. Bring the cursor up to the Insert tab and click on it. A new ribbon appears. Move across the ribbon until you come to Insert Column or Bar Charts. Click on the drop-down menu and go down to 2-bar Stacked Charts and click on that. You can see the chart area is quite close to the data still, so I'm going to just click in the centered area and move the chart slightly. With the cursor in the center of the chart area, I'm going to enter some data. So right click and go to Select Data. In the Data Select source, you have an option to add data. So click on that. This brings up an Edit Series box, and you can edit the series name and the series values. For the series name, simply click on Start Date. You can see the address of the start date cell is entered in here. For the series values, you first need to get rid of the data that's already in it, delete that, and select all of the data under Start Date, that is, all of the start dates. Click OK. Now back in our Select Data source, we need to enter some more data. Again, click Add, and for the series name this time, click on Duration. And for the series values, highlight and delete the value that's already in there, and select all of the days, the duration under Duration, and click OK. You can see the start of our chart forming. One of the things you may notice is that each task is represented as a number on the axis here. However, we have labels for each task here, not numbers. So we need to get these labels onto the axis here. To do that, we go to our Select Data Series again, and in the right-hand pane this time, we select Edit. And we get an option for Axis Label Range. All we do is highlight all of the labels and click OK. We can now close the Data Select source, so I'll click OK here. You can see we've got a chart created, but it needs some tidying up. One of the first things you might notice that while we have the labels entered in it, they're in reverse order to the way they appear here. Literature and Pilot Survey are at the top, but they appear at the bottom over here. To rectify this, you click on the label area and then right click and go to Format Axis. So I'll do that again, click on it on the area there, double click, and you can format the axis. You have a number of options here, but right down at the very end, you've got an area called Categories in Reverse Order. If we tick that box, the categories appear in the correct order, the same as they are over here. The next thing we have to do is our literature review, you might notice, begins on the 15th of January, which is way out here. The 15th of January is our start date, but we have a blue bar between the literature review and the 15th of January here. Nothing is happening in this period. Likewise, nothing is happening in any of the blue periods below. The start dates all commence where the orange begins. So we need to get rid of these blue bars. To do that, we simply click on the bars and they get highlighted. Go to the Format Data area and click on the Fill and go to No Fill. And the blue bars turn white. We can't see them. We've now eliminated all those blue bars. However, we still have a big gap. So what we need to do is to move this orange bar right over to the start date, which is not the 7th of October, but move it right over to literature review. And this is done very simply. Our start date up here is the 15th of January. It's our very first start date. So you must click on that. Now Excel records dates as a number. So if you click on that and then come up to the top of the ribbon to the custom area and click on the drop down menu, you will see a number there, 42750. This is the number Excel uses to record the date 15th of January. I'm going to just type the number in here, 42750, and I'll explain why. To get the 15th of January beside the literature review, we click on the axis with the dates on it. We get a Format Access area again, and if you look at the minimum value here, it's 42650. We want 42750. So I'm going to just take out that number and put in 42750. That's the number Excel used for the 15th of January. I press return, and as you can see, the orange bar is now right over and the start date is correct for the literature review. I also have a lot of space here at the end and I want to alter this. So we go to our last end date, not the first one, but the last end date in the entire series. And we carry out the same process. Highlight the 15th of June, move to the ribbon to where it says Custom, click the drop down menu and look at the number. It's 42901. So I'm going to write this number in here so I'll remember it. 42901. Again, I click on the axis with the dates. In the Format Axis drop-down menu, you can see maximum value, and it's 42910. Our number is 42901. They're very similar. So I'm just going to click here and type in the correct number, 42901, and press return. And while the orange hasn't spilled over, the end date, the correct end date, is at the end of the orange bar. And there we've created a Gantt chart. And that's our first video. We'll have another video soon to show what we can do to edit the Gantt chart later on.